Okay, well, Kim, we've got another great feature to analyze and discuss here this evening, which actually I did like this movie a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, like I said, this is kind of what I would call maybe one of our first like quality. It's not like, I mean, other people probably saw this movie. Like, we didn't
Yes.
just pick some random movie. We
Well,
didn't
I
see
mean,
it just
people saw
because we
Scream
like
6,
weird.
right? Like,
I mean, they did, but like horror movie people, I think people probably watched this movie not because they enjoy blood and guts like we do, but like because they enjoy film.
yeah. I will
Horror.
say too, I think this is the first M. Night, I can never pronounce his last name, Shyamalan?
Shyamalan? I don't, yeah.
Yeah. This is the first movie of his that I've seen in a while that I really dug. But I didn't see The Visitor, and I feel like I would like that one if I watched it.
I did not see The Visitor either.
Or The Visit, maybe The Visit,
Or
that's
The
what it
Visit,
is.
whatever. I don't know
Visit,
because I don't know.
yeah.
I didn't see it,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
did see The Happening. I did not like that.
I also did not like that.
I like The Village.
Did you like Lady in the Water?
I wait. That was, they were at the apartment complex, wasn't
Yeah, it
that?
had Paul Giamatti, I think,
Yes,
in it.
I saw that in theaters because that was like when he was like the thing, and I was like, "This is weird."
Yeah, it was very weird. It wasn't like it was terrible, it was just
No,
bizarre.
it was, yeah, it was just bizarre.
Yeah.
So, but I love like The Sixth Sense, like
Oh, yeah, so I think my
Signs.
favorite so Sixth Sense is my favorite M.
Yeah.
Night movie.
Yes.
Signs, I love Signs. I thought that was a good movie. I
Mhm.
actually like The Village too. Like, it's
I
got some
I
faults.
watched I just watched that like last week because of how much I like that movie.
It's got one of the most disturbing scenes to me when the guy gets stabbed with the knife, like, in the gut. It like,
Really?
just like how quiet it is, like, it's just there's something
Yeah.
about that that's just, like, super unsettling.
Yes.
What was Untouchable or Unbreakable, Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. I've seen parts of that. And then,
Yeah.
Split.
Yeah, Split was good.
I
That was
like
good.
Split, yeah.
Did you see Glass?
No, because ultimately what Matt and I wanna do is watch, like, that whole sort of series that
Yeah.
he created, and we just haven't done that yet.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I guess, it's funny, I was just talking about how, I haven't seen anything of his that I like in a while, but I feel like there has been a gap, right? It's been
Yeah,
years since there's been a movie that, like, and this one actually did pretty well critically, like, it wasn't, like, universally acclaimed. I think on Rotten Tomatoes, it's, like, 65%, which is
okay.
pretty solid. I think the audience score is pretty close to that too, but I like it because it's not, well, so we're getting into spoilers. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that up front. Like, we're gonna talk about spoilers, so if you haven't seen it and you wanna see it, go see it. It does not have a typical M. Night ending to it, I don't think. I mean, like, there's no twist really.
And there's not, but that's why Matt didn't like it. I told you as much because we don't I don't know, like, is the twist supposed to be that it's all real? Because if that is supposed to be a twist, it didn't feel like a twist. Like,
No.
I always expected it to be real. So, like,
Yeah.
so that's why I agree that there wasn't one, but was there supposed to be one? That's
There
what
was
I
a
don't know.
small part of my brain that kept thinking there's gonna be some pull the rug out from under us type of moment at some point in this movie, but it never happened really.
I got to a point where I kind of stopped expecting that. And I was okay with it. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
if this is the trajectory we're on, I'm cool with it. And that's fine with me.
Yeah. So, and again, not to go through every single plot point in the movie, but basically the summary here is there is a family that's on vacation in Pennsylvania because all of M. Night's movies, he's got this obsession with
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
really? I didn't know that.
They're it's always in Pennsylvania, everything,
Okay.
and always outside of Philadelphia. Except, I mean, I don't know about this one, but that's usually where they're at.
Probably.
So anyway, they're in the wilderness on vacation. They're a gay couple. They have an adopted daughter, and there's a lot of backstory, right, about how they got their daughter, and sort of the information about both of them and just things that they've been through over time, which actually connects back to some of the characters that are currently, or at least one of the
Yes.
characters is currently sort of involved with their situation. But while they're there, their daughter Wynn is basically outside catching grasshoppers, and she sees Dave Bautista just walk up,
I
and
love him.
yeah, he's a great actor, really. I mean, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, most things he's in, I'm good with. He's definitely got super creepy vibes going on right from the start because he's just this dude wearing like a pleated white short sleeve shirt talking to this little girl catching grasshoppers.
He's huge. He's totally
He's huge.
tatted, like
He's
very
huge, yeah.
intimidating.
But basically, and this was one thing I didn't expect, based on the previews. You can tell right from the outset that he doesn't want to be there necessarily in the situations they're in.
Yeah, like I liked the moment where the other three people show up and she's like, "Are those your friends?" And he's like, "No, you're my friend. These are people I work with." And I liked that because in the trailer, you do think that they're like a very intentionally woven group, and you find out that they're really not at all. And so I liked that he made that separation immediately. It was a nice moment in the dialogue.
Yeah, and so yeah, so that happens, and she takes off running, and he's not chasing her or anything. She
No,
runs into the house and is like, "There are these people
yeah,
here,
we gotta
and
go.
we gotta go. We gotta get out of here." And of course, the dads are like, No, whatever. What are you talking about?"
It's
Then
Jehovah's Witnesses, they say.
right,
They're like, it must be
but then
them.
Tim, there was a knock at the cabin.
There was 7 knocks.
7, is that how many it was?
Yes, because I watch everything with the captions on, so it
Okay.
said 7 knocks.
Now, so I guess my question with that, and I should have researched this, what is there some kind of like apocalyptic significance to that, right? Like, there were 7 seals, right? Like in Revelation or something like that, unless I'm forgetting. I think that sounds right. Somebody's gonna correct me if I'm wrong about that. Maybe
And
I'm
I'll just preface this, the only knowledge I have about anything apocalyptic is from the show Supernatural.
okay.
So that's
Okay.
my only knowledge base. So I don't know. But 7 is 7 deadly sins. 7 is a
Right.
meaningful number.
The only thing in this movie that they say that I wish they had not said, because it became so apparent, was at one point, I think toward the end of the movie, I think it's really when like the final moments are happening, one of them says, "They were the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse." It's like, yes, like I knew that. Like just because there
See,
were 4 of
I
them.
did not know that.
Okay.
I
So
would not have gone to that. So I agree that I don't think they needed to say it. This is what M. Night, in my opinion, what M. Night Shyamalan likes to do. He likes to write, and he likes to write reveals. And so he likes to have these moments where someone is explaining everything that's going on, and we're going, "Oh." And I think that's what he was trying to do there. And it was too prescriptive. It didn't need to say it. If he
yeah.
could have done it a different way, I would have
Yeah.
been fine with that, because I would not have caught on to that without it.
That's a good way to describe it. It is very like, I don't know, exposition-y. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the right word,
Yeah. Yeah.
but basically so in Ron Weasley is one of the 4 horsemen of the
Yes,
apocalypse,
he is. Oh,
which
Rupert Grint.
I mean, his role in this is kind of abbreviated just because of what happens to his character, but like he does a great job in it. Like
Yes.
he's,
He plays like a redneck, violent drunkard. Like, get it,
right.
Rupert Grint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically these guys show up, they have to break into the cabin because of course the parents are being protective of their daughter and themselves, and eventually Dave Bautista
Well, they've
being
got
Dave
weapons.
they've got right. I
They
mean they look
visibly have scary weapons.
right. I mean they peek through the blinds and it's like a stick with a mallet on a chain and all and like a pitchfork and all kinds of
Lights
crazy
and
stuff.
yeah.
So they get into the house and they basically subdue them and tie them to some chairs and explain why they're there, which is to prevent the apocalypse. And you see this in the trailer, so it's not like it's anything that's hugely there. But right from the outset, of course, the question is, are they crazy? Like, is really the
Yeah.
apocalypse going to happen, or are they just like nutty? And that's what's going on. So, so what they basically say is humanity is going to be judged at different intervals throughout the movie, and each one of them is going to execute another one of them, not the family, but the actual
Yeah, they can't hurt the
there.
family. That's
Right, because the family
a
has to make a
nice
decision.
little premise.
Right. So the family basically has to sacrifice one of themselves to prevent the end of humanity, essentially, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah,
Basically, I
and they
think if they,
can't commit suicide.
yeah.
It has to be that whoever it is gets killed by the other members of the
Do
family.
they? So that's a question. Do they explicitly say that they can't commit suicide? Like, I don't
Yes,
remember that. They
yes,
do say
they did
that.
say that.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Because I was kind of wondering toward the end, and I know I'm jumping around all over the place, but like when one of them gets shot, like I was sort of expecting a scene where one of them's got their hand on the gun and pulls the trigger for him, or something, or like I just didn't, that kind of thing, or
Yeah,
whatever.
no,
Or like,
he said that does not count. That has
okay,
to be yes, yes.
yeah. So basically, of course, like any rational person would, this family thinks these people are crazy, right? And
Yes.
so they're
And
trying
not
to
just
reason.
crazy, they think they're targeting them because they're gay.
Right. So so this has a lot to do with homophobia. Like that is clearly like one of the themes that's being explored in this movie thoroughly. And that's interesting. Speaking of Ron Weasley, so his character is, well, I can't remember what they referred to him as the group of four. What do they call him?
Redmond.
Redmond, right? But as time goes on, one of the people in this couple realizes that this is the same guy that beat him up at a bar, like a
Yeah.
truck stop bar kind of situation. And he's like, his name was O'Bannon. But the other one corrects him and says, no, 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 his name was O'Bannon. And he's like, no, that is him. Like, I'm 100% sure it's him. And
Yeah.
eventually gets to a point to where he's able to get his ID and he realizes he is O'Bannon.
Because it
So,
calls into question that you see it in the other the horseman characters when
right.
he's like, go check his ID, and they're like, no,
Mhm.
no, 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 because they're telling them like, we found each other because we've all had the same vision, like we didn't know each other before, like we were brought together, and he's trying to prove to them like, if this is the guy that attacked me, you've been basically bamboozled to
Right.
attack us. And there is a flicker of doubt for like a brief moment, but then he's like, I'm not going to check his ID because it doesn't matter if that's what happened. We know why we're here. And
Right.
so
They
I
go
thought
off on
that
this
was a nice moment.
they go off on this whole thing, I guess, about how they met, which is like they all showed up at the same location, wear the same outfit because of like some vision they had,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something
They
like
had
that.
visions that led them to this dock. And
Yeah.
that's where I I do like that there was a character that had a history with one of them, because I do think it allows everyone to have some doubt about what is happening. I just didn't, I don't know.
Do you
I
think that? I mean, do you think the thinking? Because we never get a clear answer on this, but do you? I don't remember anyway. That the thinking behind writing the script in that way was that like this character is being judged for what he did to these people who have to make this terrible decision. So he's been roped into this as one of the horsemen, and he's going to die as a result of
I
that.
actually really interpret it as his history with them has nothing to do with this. That it
Okay.
is just random, and he just so happened, and I don't know, he's supposed to represent malice. So maybe, but I like the idea that it is random, because how many times in our lives does something happen to us and then 10 years later you run into that person, or you know what I mean? And so I
Yeah.
like that idea. So
Yeah.
that's, but I do think for the character that was attacked by him, who clearly still hold, I mean, rightfully so, a lot of anger and
Yeah.
trauma about what happened to him, like, I think it gives him a layer and a journey that he has to go through towards like peace and forgiveness, because
Hmm.
he's very angry, and he's all of these things. And there's a couple moments in the very last shot that to me show how going through this has made him a different, better person, which I think is about a whole other message in the movie.
Yeah, and I mean, that attack causes him to purchase a handgun, which he keeps in the
Yeah.
trunk of his car and a lockbox, which comes into play a little bit later down the
Yeah.
road. But yeah, so basically, I mean, each time, and I can't remember how they set up the time intervals. It's like the first person is killed, and then a whole day goes by, or the next morning happens, and then it's like a much more rapid
Yeah.
succession with how it kind of plays out. But because they didn't make a decision to sacrifice somebody in their family, each time one of the horsemen is killed, some kind of plague or whatever it is happens to humanity. So the first time it's a tidal wave, like an earthquake
Yeah.
happens. And it's funny when they turn on the TV and you can tell the nurse character is like, oh my God, like, is this really, this is like, we got duped, or like, I'm somehow, this isn't the right thing. But then you see
Yeah. Yeah.
like 50-foot tidal wave coming in and, destroying whatever part of the world that was.
It was. I thought it was a really nice idea to have moments where they have to doubt themselves, because if I guess I would say, and I don't know because I've never been a crazy person, but like,
Are you
if
sure, Kim?
who knows, if you were so deluded or whatever, extremist, maybe even to have this belief, I don't think there would be those moments where you would doubt, because you are so blinded by your belief. But that's not what's happening here. Like, they've had visions, like this is so real for them. And so for them to have a moment of doubt, I think kind of grounds them. And that's why it never felt like this explicitly religious type thing.
Yeah, and I mean, after so Rupert, is it Gent? Is that how you say it? Gent?
Right.
Grint. He's the first one to go, right? And so he has to put like a white piece of
And
cloth
it's
over his head.
sad. Like he
He's sad.
knows that they have to kill him now, and he accepts it, but he says he's scared. Like it's not a brutal butchering. It's sad.
Yeah, and I mean, and this is to me the first moment where you start to, at least for me, I start to realize like, okay, there's some truth to what they're saying, because like Dave Bautista gets sick after he does it, right? Like he has a reaction.
Yeah, they don't want to do this.
Right, like any normal person would, like you get really upset by it and freak out, but I guess because of the convincing nature of their visions and the fact that they've all had the same visions, they know they have to keep moving forward with the whole thing, basically, at that point.
And the way they keep phrasing it is that just with what they've seen to come, it is so horrifying. Like just it is almost like I can't risk it. I can't have any part of me risk this happening. So if it means I have to die, which this is again skipping ahead a little bit, but the one woman who has a son, I think about that, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, there's nothing I would ever do that would cause me to not be with Owen. So like, but if I truly, truly, deeply believed that if I didn't do this, the world would be on fire and my son would die, then yeah, of course I would sacrifice myself. So that's where, for me, like that's when it really started to feel like the truth, because a person wouldn't give that up unless they really believed that was what was going to happen.
So Rupert Grint gets axed, and basically, they tell them, look, we've got until tomorrow morning. You've got time to think about this. And I mean, it's not like they're treating them poorly. I mean, they're not letting them leave because they can't, because of their conviction. But they, I think the cook, the woman with the son, makes breakfast, to kind of get them in the best.
The nurse takes care of the husband with the concussion and tries to talk to him a little bit. And he's the one that you can start to see is like, maybe. I don't know. And at the end of the day, and this is what my thought was, like, whether I believed this was going to end an apocalypse, if I thought it was going to save my family, to say, yeah, just shoot me. Just shoot me. Like, that's fine. If I thought that was going to get these psychos to go away so my family was okay, I'd still be okay with that. Whether I thought it was, so that's where I could see that one dad, Jonathan Groff's character, like starting to really think about it. And I don't want to go all the way to the end, but
you can do whatever you want.
Well, I knew he was going to be the one to die. Yeah. I knew it was going to be him. And I knew like that it would ultimately have to be him convincing the other guy, which is fine. I think it played well because the other dad was so angry and saw so much negativity in the world that he had to stay because he had to be able to see beyond it.
There's a moment where I'm trying to remember. So yeah, the cook, the woman with the son, she's next, I think, right? And is it the nurse or the cook?
No, it is the cook. You're right.
It's the cook.
It is.
But eventually, and I like this little kind of moment of humor they incorporate here. They're like, remember that thing you did at Thanksgiving talking to Wynn, their daughter? Like, I'm not going to do that. And she basically starts having like a freak out moment because she couldn't do something.
This on TV, which
and if you have children, you know
that
exactly
is real. Yes,
like
yes.
that happens all the time. But it's enough of a distraction for them while they've been working to kind of get out of their bindings to get out. He gets out to the car and gets
and Wynn sneaks her dad a knife, by the way.
Right.
Good on you, awesome. Little girl. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if Jen or Henry would have the wherewithal.
I think I'm going to start having some conversations with Owen about like, hey, if we're ever in a situation, you get your hands on a knife, you sneak it to me.
Listen, if the 4 horsemen show up, this is what I need you to do.
Yes, here's the plan.
Yeah, right. But so the one husband, the one that's, I can't remember their names, but he's the one that's more angry. He gets out of the car, right? And while he's trying to get into the car, the nurse basically bashes his leg with her.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You
couldn't hurt me.
Well, it's like, she's a good, I guess she's a good person. I mean, she's a good person in that, like, she doesn't want to hurt anybody, but she knows she can't kill them or that's going to mess up the whole.
She's like, you can't leave. Like, you have to be here and make this decision.
So this is the part in the movie, and I'm not usually one to like scream at the screen, like, do this thing or do that. Like, this is the part where he's got the gun and he's pointing it. I'm like, dude, like, you gotta shoot her. Like, you gotta shoot her and get your family out of there. Like, that's the first thing that he shoots around her just to kind of like give her a warning shot. But it's like, you know that they're not gonna let you go. So And at that point, I don't know that. I mean, I wouldn't say that that character in particular was believing any of this was real at that point.
No, no, I
So
definitely think he still was like, these people are crazy. Yes, because I think there's still and then after she is dead, then there's one more plague because then he does ultimately shoot her when she
yeah,
charges into the house.
that was kind of a. I mean, it wasn't fun. It was just the way it was set up was kind
It
of an
was
interesting.
odd. It was because I'm like, why did she run and screaming? I'm
Yeah,
confused.
she's like running and screaming in like a clear line of sight, knowing he has a handgun, and
Yeah,
so he shoots her and
not her
kills
best
her.
moment.
But again, that's sort of that interesting, sort of dynamic in that was that supposed to happen because you knew she was going to die anyway because they weren't going to make the decision, and then the plague
Maybe
sort of
she
plays
knew.
out.
Maybe she
So
knew that's how she died. Yeah.
it was. I'm trying to remember. It was the tidal wave. What was the second one that they did?
Was that was the virus, the children's virus?
That was the right. Which, given the current state of the world, now that we're sort of coming out of a pandemic, like that makes it that much more. Well, I assume we are coming out of a pandemic. That makes it that much more scary, right?
Yes.
But then the one that to me was like, okay, if you're not believing this at this point, like literally every plane is falling out of the sky for no reason
That was
simultaneously.
horrifying to me. To me, that was
Yeah,
the most horrifying part of this movie is that planes are just falling out of the sky.
yeah. I
Like,
mean, if
what?
regardless of somebody's religious beliefs, convictions, or whatever, like literally, if every plane inexplicably started falling out of the sky, like that would not be a great sign of
No,
just
I don't know if it's
the general.
aliens, a higher power, terrorists.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but I'm getting out. Like, somebody
right.
get me
Like,
out.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think my first thought would be clearly someone has done some kind of coordinated mechanical, electrical thing, but like, again, that's like a rationalization, as
Yeah,
opposed to thinking about it from a higher power perspective. So, yeah, so that was crazy. And then the last one was the lightning strikes. And like, I mean, it
yeah.
was weird. It was kind of like the storm. I guess there's some symbolism there, but the storm is kind of lingering, sort of
Yeah, and
thing.
once the last one starts, well, and that's when Dave Bautista, he actually, so and he straight up cuts his own throat, and then he's
Right.
like, "You only have minutes to decide." Like, so it's which is interesting. I'm like, Are we timing exactly how many
Right.
minutes? Like to me,
You've got
it
90
felt
seconds.
like that was a little wishy washy. It's like if I get that they want him to die and that they have to be by themselves, and but I guess it's just like, well, but then the one day it's like I can feel it. I know that it's time to make the
Yeah.
decision. You're like, okay,
Yeah,
I know.
and I mean, I will say it was I don't know if I would say it was unsettling, but, like, it is bizarre watching, a character, and you kinda get wrapped up in the movie, but just basically say in a very matter-of-fact way, "You've got about 3 minutes," and just kill himself. Like, he's not really worried about anything else at that
Yeah,
moment other than just and again, that must be the power of the visions that he had seen and just
yeah.
knowing that it had to happen at that point.
And I do feel like acting, directing, writing wise, it was really smart that none of the like the only character who ever gets very like I don't even want to use the word crazy, just very extra is Redmond's character, but that's because he is so angry and that's kind of his person. Nobody gets extremist, nobody gets preachy, nobody gets angry or anxious. They're just this is it. This is what we got to do. So we're
And I
going to
should
do it.
mention, yeah, I mean, so while all this is going on, there are a lot of like flashbacks, right? So
Yeah.
one has to do with adopting their daughter, one has to do to this couple coming out to one of their parents, basically,
Yeah.
and just sort of I think just sort of underscoring kind of this long-standing trend of homophobia and just trying to navigate that and deal with that as a thing. So, clearly that's one of the major themes in the movie. But the one that I was texting you about that I thought I just had a hard time kind of contending with was, is it trying to say something about religious extremism? And like, like I don't know if it is or not. Like that was my biggest gripe. If I have a gripe with the movie, that's probably it.
And I guess and again, because and maybe it is just that hold on, my throat's dry. My
I
only
understand how it goes.
experience with Apocalypse is the show Supernatural. And in that show, while yes, it obviously is, God and the devil and the Bible and all that, the main characters are not religious. And it's like so it's to me, this is a weird thing to say, but to me, the apocalypse has always felt very secular. And
Okay.
so like I have not because of my experience, I did not feel like it was a commentary on religious extremism. And I wish they had not done the flashbacks.
Okay.
I thought it was too much. because I think it starts to get into that. Like, is this about homophobia? Is this because I
Right.
think what it was just trying to do is paint this character who has an outlook that the world sucks. Because
Yeah.
he at one point says, "Let everybody die." They've
Yeah.
said, "You guys will live. You will
Right.
live and walk this hell on earth alone." And the guy's like, "Cool. Let's
Yeah.
just do that, the three of us." He has no problem with that. And so I think his character needed to be able to embrace that he was going to have to live in a world without his husband now, with his and face kind of that hate. And I think the way they did it was too much trying to that could lead to people being like, is that what you were trying to say? And I don't think that's what it was trying to say. They just picked that lens.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see, I guess, kind of the theme of like, and I think you had mentioned this too when we were talking about it, just sort of texting or whatever, but like sacrifice as that like being a thing that kind of stands out maybe is the more prominent, I don't know, takeaway, and it's not that every movie has to have some kind of theme or subtext, but I don't know why I just kept coming back to like, is he trying to say that like people sticking by their convictions is a good thing? Like, I don't know, like, because clearly there are religious extremists who are not good, right? Like, I mean,
No,
so
and that's where I never felt like there was a commentary on that because my biggest gripe with the movie is there's a moment where Jonathan Groff's character says to his husband, "What if this is what's been going on for centuries?
right.
That there's always been a family that's had to do this, to make the sacrifice, to prevent." Because Dave Bautista's character on points like, this has been going on. Like, you've seen the fireworks going off of the apocalypse. Like, this is just now kind of the big finale. So it makes me think that the things like we've experienced were another family who didn't make the choice the first time. This happened and then they made the choice. And I
Mhm.
wish they had done more with that, because to me, that is the most interesting part of this movie. That
Yeah.
we have no idea this is happening, but I don't know how often it happens. Once a year, who knows? There's a family somewhere out there that gets 4 people that show up and are like, you've got to make a choice. And I think that is a super fascinating concept.
I agree. Yeah, they could do that in Knocks at the Cabin or Knock at the Cabins. Whatever
Another
the
knock,
what
another knock at the cabin.
another knock at the cabin
Knock,
again or
knock at the
something.
cabin. But, and so
If
that's
it's
why
called
to me,
knock at the cabin, I'm gonna lose it. Anyway,
it won't. It won't. But that's why to me it didn't feel like it was an extremist commentary, because I really saw it as like a sci-fi. Like, I think this is a thing that's been happening and nobody knows about it.
so that's another question. Would you say it's sci-fi or supernatural?
I guess that's a question about. I would say it's thriller because
Okay. Well, it
I don't.
is a thriller movie for sure, but I guess, like, what would you say that the cause of the apocalypse is supernatural in nature? I mean, it would have to be if they're having visions, right? Like, I mean, I would think there's something
Yeah,
going on there.
yeah, I would put it more supernatural, because I guess when I think science fiction, I think like aliens, you
Yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
outside, extraterrestrial, and that's I don't feel like that's what's
M
it is.
maybe
It's
this is an
beyond
alien's way of
natural.
maybe this is an alien's way of keeping humanity in check or something, I don't know. Let's see.
Maybe they picked 4 people, gave them some visions. Who knows?
So, this is officially classified on IMDb as a horror mystery thriller, and I would say that horror, maybe? I don't know, not really, like
No, I would say it's a suspense thriller.
yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
I don't
supernatural suspense thriller.
I mean, again, a horror movie doesn't necessarily have to be scary, but I didn't really other than, like, blood, like, I wouldn't say there was
Well,
anything.
and we've talked about that. The element of like disgust that I think
Yeah,
qualifies something as horror is not there. Like Evil Dead, like that wasn't super scary, but the amount of blood was disgusting in a good way. Then it's
right,
horror. The amount of blood in this, in my opinion, is purposeful, so it is not horror.
right, and I wouldn't say it's overly bloody, really.
No, it's not. It's
I mean, really,
really
honestly, and when you told me it was rated R, I was pretty shocked. I really could have sworn it was rated PG-13, but you're right, it is rated R, like, that's nuts, to me anyway. So yeah, and I mean, so the very, very end, right? Like, so one of the dads has killed the other dad, and they are leaving the cabin finally, they go to a diner somewhere,
Yeah.
I guess, sort of on the way out, and basically everybody that's in there is just dumbfounded watching the TV, where like everything's starting to kind of even out. All the planes have stopped falling out of the sky,
No more
and there's
cases of the virus.
right, and
The
there's a
water
moment
levels
where the water
lowering.
levels are receding. So there's a moment where they leave the diner and get in the car, and they kind of turn the radio on and off a few different times to that song that
It's the
presumably
song that the family sang together, which
right,
again, I don't think we needed a flashback. And because the movie starts so like right as things are going, so we don't
yeah,
get that context. So I understand why some of the flashbacks were there.
yeah.
But yeah, it's their family song.
Was there, and I'm going all the way back to the beginning of the movie because this is what I do. But so there's the grasshoppers in the jar. Do you think there's any symbolism with that? Just dealing with humanity, and I mean, yeah, like that's got to be part of it, right? Like kind of early on, letting us know the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, and even in the opening credits, looking back now, I realize what the credits are. They are the four horsemen's people drawing their visions on their respective like there was a medical record, there was
Oh yeah, I totally
something
forgot about
else.
the
They
opening
were all
credits.
different kinds of because I was looking at the different kinds of documents. And so I think they were all documents related to like their jobs that they had been drawing their visions on. And I thought I liked that. I liked that. And I wish I would have liked him to have found that in the car. Because when he gets
Yeah,
to the truck and he finds their bags and realizes they are exactly who they said they are, which I didn't doubt it at that point. I
right.
wish those drawings had been there on those things. That would have been a nice callback to the credits.
Yeah, and I was just about to say that whole moment where they get in the car and they see that picture of Dave Bautista with like his elementary school team,
Yeah.
like in just his class and stuff. Like that was kind of cool how they did connect that back to everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, like again, I think this is one of the better M Night movies I've seen recently, and honestly, one of the
Yeah.
better movies I've seen recently, just generally. Like, I mean, I
I
don't.
I really liked it. And I liked it because I thought the script was really well done. I thought all the acting was great. I always will love a movie that can be in one place.
Yes,
And that was
yeah,
actually my fear. Like the first time I saw the trailer, I was like, "Oh, this is cool. It's all going to take place in this cabin." Then I saw another trailer and it looked like something was going on out like somewhere else. And I'm like, "Oh, are they only going to be at this cabin for 15 minutes and then but we're out in the world?" I'm going to be so annoyed. So I was really happy that the whole movie basically took place at this cabin. To me, that's smart writing, that's a good
yeah.
story. I actually want to see this on stage.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah,
Well, now I'm going to write a play that isn't this obviously, but I want to play around with like this home invasion idea on stage and what that would look like.
yeah. I'm trying to remember. Now that you said that, there was a really good home invasion movie that I saw a couple of years ago. Gosh, what was it called? It's about a woman who's deaf, I think. Have you seen that
Gosh,
one? Hush. Yeah, I love that movie. I thought that was an
yeah, that
awesome
was good.
movie.
That was
That
a
was a
good
good
one.
movie. I was gonna say if you haven't seen that, definitely watch that. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I did watch that one. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would recommend it. I
Yeah.
assume you would too. Yeah,
I really would, and I do think it's a movie worth watching and asking questions about and having conversations about because I do think there's different elements you can take away. And I don't think people I hope people don't get too focused on like is this about homophobia or religious extremism because I think those can cause people to be very charged and miss out on maybe some other messages about forgiveness and sacrifice and humanity in general and how
yeah,
we sort of relate to that.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
And like what you would do in that situation. I think that's always
That's
the
tough.
the
That's
best
tough. I
thing.
mean,
And
honestly,
I
like,
don't know, Matt reads a lot of like what if questions and like a lot of scenario. And there was something he read recently that was like, you've been told someone will die in 30 minutes, but it'll be random unless you push a button to kill yourself first or something. And so I don't know. He basically told me that if we are ever in a scenario where one of us could die, we don't know who, but he can make a choice to have like that he's going to choose to have himself die. So I kind of know how our situation would play out. I
yeah,
just don't know how long it would take us. I don't know. Honestly, after I might just be like, give me the gun. Let's
right.
just Let's just do this.
That remind. Have you ever seen that movie, The Box?
No,
You know what it is though?
not really. I feel like I knew at one point maybe.
It had, or it has, I should say, Cameron Diaz, James Marsden, Franklin
Yeah,
Jar. It's got a good cast, but I'm reading I watched it, and the thing is, like, it wasn't a great movie, but it had a really good premise. Like, it had a premise that I felt like could have been cool. So, and I'm just reading it here. A small wooden box arrives on the doorstep
yeah,
of a married couple who know that opening it will grant them $1 million and kill someone they don't know. Like, that's the whole
yeah,
premise. So it's kind of comparable in some ways to that,
yeah.
but it was
Mhm.
cool. It was cool. It wasn't a great movie, but the premise was good. So yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know if
I
I'd
like
recommend
it.
it though. But anyway, so
Yeah, I won't watch it.
what I don't know what we're gonna watch next, Kim. Have we even
I
thought of
mean,
anything?
we really could do the new Evil Dead. We could potentially.
Because you're gonna see that in theaters, right?
I might. I really might. Like I said, I've got my. It's actually right here. I've got my free movie ticket.
Yeah,
Really, I might. I don't know. We'll
yeah,
see. Maybe
I
I'll
might
take
see it
myself
too.
for my birthday and go see it. I don't know.
Happy birthday! See this like blood-soaked thing and I'm sure the previews. I think it's actually going to be bloodier potentially than the first one. Just I kind of have a feeling, but I could be wrong about that. We'll see.
I don't know. I
Which
don't
is not a
know.
bad thing necessarily, but
No, no. As long I yeah,
I
we'll
could be completely wrong. But some of the stuff I've seen in the trailers, like the whole cheese grater thing, I'm like, I can't believe they're using that on somebody's leg. Like that's rough. Yeah. Anyway, maybe
yeah.
Evil Dead Rise will be the next one that we watch.
I still want you to see Spiral because I want
Oh yeah, we
to
could
talk
do that
about it.
too. Do you want
Yeah.
to do? I could watch that. We could talk about it.
Okay, because I do. I want to talk to
So
somebody about
do
it.
I need to fully be caught up on all the Saw films or no?
No, no,
Okay. Because
nothing.
I've seen like 1 through 4, but maybe after that I just
You
kind of
don't need
stopped
to know
watching them.
anything.
Okay,
No. It's
cool.
very
Okay,
much its own Saw movie thing. Yeah.
awesome. It's
But
got Chris Rock, right?
yes.
Okay,
It's got a lot of people.
okay.
Well, I say a lot. I say it's got some people I recognize and then others some people I didn't know were in it. I was like, "You're in this?" But yeah, I'm just curious. I want to know.
What my opinion is on it?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So,
yes, and I want to know if you knew what you'll know.
like, you mean if I figure out what's gonna happen kind of thing,
Yeah.
or yeah, okay. So, Spiral and/or Evil Dead Rise, probably in the not too distant future. Kim, as
Yeah.
always, it was great.
Yes.
We will
Whatever.
chat again soon. And Kim, I got to brag on you, Kim. Kim has a stage production happening in what, 2 weeks?
A week and a half-ish, yeah, the 29th, April 29th. If
Office
anyone's
hours,
in Hardersville, North Carolina, come
Huntersville, North
on
Carolina.
down.
If you want to see office hours, come on up or
It
wherever you
won't be a
are. It's going to
horror
be
unless you're
awesome.
a
I'm going to
teacher,
be
and then it
there.
will be.
It's going to be fun. All right, cool. Well, we will be back soon with our next review.